Dang, I want to talk about this trailer because, damn, that trailer gave me chills, and that doesn't happen very often. Zach Cregger is known for comedy. He's part of the Whitest Kids You Know group, which is just so funny to me.
Who said that?
The fact that he is making such powerful horror films is really interesting to me. So let's talk about this trailer. Basically, it looks like the film is about this class of kids that just doesn't show up one day. A whole class full of kids, and they all disappeared at night. The night before, they all got up in the middle of the night and they just walked into the darkness and they didn't come back. And then the rest of the trailer is very disturbing imagery. It looks like we see perhaps a dream from the teacher who's in her classroom, and she sees all the kids with their heads down on the desk, and then one kid lifts his head in the back. We get kids running around in the dark, a kid getting hit by a car, some very disturbing imagery of people like stabbing themselves, and some gory effects. Man, it's cool to see Josh Brolin in it. He looks really good in the role. I assume he's a parent of one of the kids, and he raises a good question.
Why just her classroom? Why only her?
Why only her class that isn't showing up? That's a really good premise, because you really have no idea where this could go. I have no idea where this could go. You know, a lot of the times in horror films, we get like one kid that's possessed or something. Rarely do we see a whole class go missing, or a whole group of kids. The only thing I can think of is Village of the Damned. But this doesn't quite feel like that. It definitely has its own vibe. It's disturbing. It gave me goosebumps watching it. Zach Cregger, though, his film Barbarian was really original too, and I would say that film, he really didn't know where it was going to go. That was pretty scary. Let's talk about the title, Weapons. It makes you wonder, are they being weaponized? Just going through some comments online about it, there's some interesting information here. Jordan Peele fired his managers for losing the bidding war for it. The movie ended up selling to New Line Cinema for $38 million. It was originally supposed to come out January 2026, but test screenings were so overwhelmingly positive that it got pushed forward to August. So that's awesome. Another creepy part about the trailer is that it has a kid narrating it. It just adds another level of disturbingness. Another thing about the trailer is, in the trailer, they mentioned the time 2:17, that all the kids got out of their beds at 2:17. I wonder if that plays any sort of role. The only thing I can think of is that they say there were 17 kids missing, so that's sort of interesting. Let's talk predictions here. Let's try to figure out what's going on. I had a couple different thoughts. I thought about it could be something supernatural, a killer, some sort of twisted killer's game, but what I think is going on is I think that there's some sort of virus or parasite being spread. And I think it starts with like one kid. It's spread to that classroom, and maybe it only affects kids at first, because as we see later, the adults get affected too. And my guess is that it spreads to more classrooms, because at first it talks about these kids disappearing at 2:17 in the morning, right? But then as the trailer goes on, we see kids running during the day, jumping out of the classroom even. I think something is affecting the kids, and then it spreads to the adults eventually, because as we see in the trailer, there's a lady who's like stabbing herself in the face with a fork, and she shows no emotion. There's a guy with like a bloody face who's like breaking into the teacher's car. We see another disturbing lady. It just leads me to believe that there's some sort of outbreak going on. Maybe it's not like a zombie outbreak exactly, but it's something, a parasite. Maybe it's an alien parasite. I don't know. And perhaps we get like a really bleak ending where it affects everybody. I don't know. Another interesting element is that there's no like clear villain in the trailer. I don't get the sense that the teacher is in on it. Of course, this is a trailer, right? It's not going to give everything away. But Josh Brolin's character also doesn't come off as the villain. He seems like a very concerned father, and perhaps somebody who's trying to unravel what's going on. There's also an interesting quote, "It's best if you keep some distance from this place." Now, I assume they're talking about the school, but it could also be related to some sort of outbreak. There's also a very disturbing shot of somebody being like attacked by a bunch of people. And if you look at the hands, they look small. They look like kids' hands, and they're bloody. So tying in the title of the film, Weapons, perhaps these kids are being weaponized, and perhaps the parasite is somehow weaponizing them. Look, this is all speculation, of course. Also, a shot that I thought was gory might not actually be gory. It looks like somebody being held down and like somebody puking all over them. some sort of like oil or something. We also have this very disturbing shot of the lady in the kitchen, but if you notice, there's a kid up close, out of focus, staring at this lady. And this lady just has no emotion on her face while these like sparks are going off in her face. Like, what is that about? Probably the most disturbing shot in the whole trailer for me is that lady stabbing herself. That is brutal, man. I can't watch that. But we also have this very slow, like there's a shot of somebody opening the door throughout the trailer. And I'm trying to connect that, but I don't know if I can find a connection. Which leads me to think another idea is that perhaps it's some sort of seance, some sort of like lady controlling these people. It could be that scary older lady. Maybe that's the villain. Okay, let's just say, so we have our parasite idea. That's one prediction. Another prediction is there's that older lady there's sparks in the kitchen, and then it looks like she has a bandana on, laughing at one point at a table, and that could be the same table where that lady's stabbing herself in the face. And that makes me think that perhaps this lady is somehow behind it. She is controlling these people, and she has that. There's also a moment in the trailer where it shows the title, and it shows somebody ringing a bell, almost like you ring the bell to activate them. Yeah, it's hard to say. But I don't think it's Josh Brolin. I don't think it's the teacher. I think if there is a villain, it's this older lady. Or it's some sort of parasite, like some sort of outbreak. But that title, Weapons, leads me to think that somebody's behind it, utilizing this supernatural element that is controlling these kids and then controlling people later. Hard to say. What a great trailer though, right? It gives you just enough to really get curious, but doesn't give away anything. I think that's how you do a trailer, and maybe it's going to lead us in one way and go another, It's hard to say, but this film I'm looking forward to the most out of all the trailers that are out right now. This film really has my interest. So just because it's very fresh, it's very unique, and it has a lot of open-ended questions that makes you wonder what's going on. So I'm curious your thoughts. What do you think is going on? Could it be Parasite? Do you think it's supernatural? April 8th, we'll find out. All right, I'll see you next time.